Let's kick things off here on Saturday, though. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Cleveland Browns, talking about a game full of shenanigans. You have the Cleveland Browns, who at one time were favored by 6.5 points in this game, now find themselves as 1.5 underdogs to the Las Vegas Raiders, a total all the way down to 38.5 in this game. You might be wondering, why is that the case? Well, the Browns have basically a whole starting unit that is not going to be playing in this game due to COVID. Baker Mayfield, guard Wyatt Teller, tackle Jedrick Wills, tight end Austin Hooper, wide receiver Jarvis Landry, defensive tackle Malik Jackson, safety John Johnson. All of these guys have been listed out. Well, basically listed out. We have not seen very many guys be able to get the 2 negative tests in a week, much less in a short week. So most of these guys considered to be out for this Browns team. Did not affect the Raiders as we sit right now, which is why you find themselves as 1.5 favorites. Brad, some people might look at this and say, hey, this team was 6.5 point favorite. It moves to 1.5 on the other side. This is too big of a reaction. This is an overreaction. I would love your opinion. To me, I say to those people, there are literally going to be 10 backups out on the field for the Browns in this game, including the quarterback. And oh, by the way, Kevin Stefanski probably isn't going to be out there either because he's one of the guys that tested positive. So the head coach is going to be gone, who also is the play caller. So I think it's an appropriate move. I think it's a right move. And I don't think it can be understated just how many guys are going to be out for this Browns team.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unprecedented situation. Like, it's going to be chaotic enough, as you say, like 11 starters or so out. But then you don't have the head coach there either. So you've also got a backup quarterback trying to figure it out too. So it's quite hard to. There's no real precedent for this at all. I would say not the entire, 3 of the 5 starting offensive linemen are now out, essentially, with the right tackle being injured as well. Mm. And that was what held this team together. You know, they don't have a good quarterback anyway. They don't have good receivers anyway. Now it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones and maybe Harrison Bryant at tight end. So, the offense, I think, is a mess, especially against this Raiders pass rush. Like, you shouldn't forget they've got 2 of the best pass rushing defensive ends in the league, going up against backup tackles now with no weapons down the field to help the backup quarterback out. So I can't see the Browns scoring many points. You know, the talk this week has been, oh yeah, give it to Nick Chubb, but it's a different kettle of fish behind a backup offensive line. Now, I also do a bit question whether the Raiders are going to score that many points because the Browns' defense is less slowed down, and they've still got their. I guess they've still got Myles Garrett in there, the defensive player of the year, and the Raiders still have a bad offensive line. So, yeah, you can't go under 38.5 either. I guess I would definitely lean
Army
Raiders.
Navy. Army Navy's playing again this week.
Yeah, I would lean Raiders because they're going to have pretty much an NFL team out there, and I'm not sure that's the case for the Browns. I don't know how you can back the Browns really.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at this, Steven, it's like you look and people are going to say, hey, man, you know, it's the Raiders. They've been on this free fall. They've looked like total trash or whatever. But, I mean, you know, you are going to be, I mean, I didn't even mention Takk McKinley is another guy that's not going to be out there. Kareem Hunt is not going to be playing, not because of the COVID situation, just because of an injury. So like they're beat up on top of all of the COVID situation and everything that's going on right now. So I just don't know. They don't have a tight end on the roster because between injuries and the COVID situation, they're going to have to go pull a tight end off of the practice squad or sign someone off the street. And so I actually think the 1.5, I mean, there was a 1 available widely yesterday. I think the 1.5 as we sit here on Thursday, I think is probably a bit short, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you just mentioned it, and just not the COVID guys. It's the actual injury report too. I mean, they might not have a tight end if Harrison Bryant can't play. He's limited back-to-back days. The Joel Bitonio, the guard, limited back-to-back days. The center, J.C. Treader, limited back-to-back days. On defense, Malik Jackson, Greg Newsome did not practice back-to-back days. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. So this is one of those situations where I think it's a great time to caution casual fans that you can't just look at the odds in a situation and apply it, because on paper, this is a teaser leg dream to get the Browns up to 7.5 with a low total of 38.5. But our senior writer, Mo Nawara, astutely notes that it's risky for all of the reasons we talked about. The variance here is crazy high. There literally is really no good way to figure out what the correct line is on a game in a situation like this. It's just even projection systems are going to have a difficult time nailing down what the spread should be in a crazy, unprecedented situation like this. So, and if you look at last year, the Browns were in a situation similar to this in terms of the circumstances, but not to this level. They didn't have their wide receivers because of COVID last year. They were 6.5 point favorites to the lowly Jets, and they lost the game. So just that's at least sort of an apples to apples comparison. But long story short, there's really no way to have a good handicap on this game.
It's not in my account yet, but I think before it's all said and done, I'll probably have at least a small piece of the Raiders at 1.5.
I get why.
There's just too much. There's just too much for this Browns team, I think, to overcome in this situation. And so I'll probably have a small piece of the Raiders at 1.5.